so no need to sign up for the moment. All right, we are going to start with our first presentation. And Susan, who do we have here tonight again? Sorry, I missed the.
If you could unmute yourselves, and who's gonna, let me check to see if I made you co-host. You, you're both co-hosts, so you can introduce yourself and you can share screen when you're ready.
Okay. Hi. Good evening. My name is Keisha Montesinos. I am the homeownership counselor at NHS, the Bronx location. Francine, you're still muted.
Good evening. My name is Francine Griffith, and I'm a housing counselor at the Manhattan office.
Okay. I'll share my screen. We're just going to discuss briefly the Home First program. Let me see if I can go ahead and, sorry, one second. Francine, you want to discuss a little bit about who we are and what we do while I pull this up?
Okay, we have the present. Oh, you're going to
Okay.
okay,
Just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen.
okay.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know, who we
Can
are,
you hold on?
I'm
Can
sorry?
you hold on a second? Can you hold on a
Sure.
second? The screen went blank, or just
Oh,
a second.
okay, no
There it is.
problem.
Okay, proceed. Sorry.
Sure. All right. So for those of you who don't know who we are Neighborhood Housing Services of New York City. We are based in Manhattan and also in the Bronx location. We provide a lot of services such as foreclosure intervention, financial counseling, one-on-one counseling, repairs, grants and services, insurance services. If you go on our page, you can find all these services online. But today we're just going to discuss about the Home First Grant. It's a grant for first-time home buyers. I'll start off with a little bit about the program or program description. So Home First provides qualified home buyers with up to $100,000 towards the down payment and closing cost. And notice there that the keyword is up to 100,000. So there is a specific formula for determining the amount that you're receiving. It's going to differ for everyone. Eligible properties are 1 to 4 family homes, co-ops, and condos for owner occupancy. That means that you must reside in the property. It has to be your primary residence. And property must be located within the 5 boroughs of New York City. So that means Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and Staten Island. Anything outside of those areas wouldn't qualify for this program. Okay, so eligibility requirements. To qualify for this program, you must first be a first-time home buyer. So that means you cannot have owned a property for at least 3 years. You must complete a home buyer education course by a HUD certified counseling agency such as NHS. You must have at least 3% of your own funds to contribute to towards this purchase. So we're going to verify that you have those funds readily available in one of your accounts. Anything else can be gifted or can come from additional assistance. You must meet the income eligibility of up to 120% of the area median income. So notice that the income did increase. I think it began April 30th of this year. And so it does open the door for a lot of you guys to qualify now if you do have higher incomes. And then lastly, you must meet additional program requirements based on your unique situation because every application is going to be different depending on your household. So the new income limits as established by HUD, it went from the 80% area median income to now 120% area median income. So for a family of one, you can now make up to 130,000, 440. Family of two, 149,160. Family of three, 167,760. So for the family size, anyone who is over 18 receives income, they are, and who will be living in the new home will be counted as a household member. So just be aware of all the income that comes into the household so that the counselor can determine if you're eligible for the program based on that information. And also to note that HPD counts all sources of income that comes into the household, not just your wages. So make sure that if you're getting interest and dividends from different accounts, alimony, child support, Social Security income, all income is counted. And income is very strict for requirements. So as I mentioned before, there is a specific formula for determining the amount that you receive, and that is up 20% of the purchase price, with the maximum being 100,000. For example, if you're purchasing a co-op or condo and it's valued at 180,000, if you multiply that by 20%, that means that you are expected to receive 36,000 from Home First. So anything that you purchase, when you go out shopping for properties, just always calculate 20% of the purchase price. Obviously, any property valued at 500,000 and above, automatically you will be receiving 100,000 should you qualify for the program. It's important to note that this is a forgivable loan. So in order to avoid having to repay back the assistance, you must occupy the property for a certain amount of time. So if you're receiving $40,000 or less, you must occupy the property for up to 10 years. And if you're receiving more than 40,000, you have to occupy the property for up to 15 years. Francine, would you like to take it from here or continue?
Okay. Okay. There's also an asset limit of 120% of your area medium income for a person that's a family with one person household. Your assets could not exceed 130,440. And so on 2-family household, your asset cannot exceed 149,160. 3-person household, your asset limit is 167,760, and therefore on and on as your household increase, your asset limits increases as well. And there's also a gift limit now. So prior to this, the gift limits was unlimited, but now it's only limited to 50% of the total down payment may come to the applicant as a gift. 50% of your total down payment. The applicant must demonstrate the number and total amount of gift received by providing gift letters, bank statements showing that the gift has been deposited prior to closing, and a written gift certification letter. Then there's also a purchase price limit, which is very important as well. It depends on the borough you purchase in or the county you purchase in say Bronx. If you purchase in 1 unit, your purchase price cannot exceed $636,000. Kings County, your purchase price cannot exceed for a 1 unit, $712,000. If you purchase it in Manhattan, your purchase price for the 1 unit cannot exceed $636,000. Queens County, 1 unit, $684,000. Richmond County, $636,000, and that is for a 1 unit. But if you're going to purchase 2 units in the Bronx, then the purchase price limit is $814,000. Kings County, $911,000. New York, $814,000. Queens County, $876,000. And Richmond County, $814,000. That is for 2 units if you're purchasing in those boroughs. And for 3 units in the Bronx, your purchase price cannot exceed $985,000. Kings County, $1,103,000. New York County, $985,000. Queens County, $1,060,000. Richmond County, $985,000. And if you decide to purchase a 4 unit in the Bronx County is $1,220,000. Kings County would be $1,366,000. New York County, $1,220,000. Queens County, 1,313,000, and Richmond County, 1,220,000.
Yes, and just to include, 1-unit properties do include co-ops and condos as well. And
Exactly.
anything that you're purchasing 2 units and above, you are required to take a landlord class.
Right. This
Okay,
is for
you can go ahead.
purchase price limits for new homes. That's Bronx, Brooklyn, New York, Queens, and Richmond County. They all, for 1 unit, is 869,000 for the Bronx. Kings County is 819,000. New York County, 819,000 as well. Queens County, 841,000. Richmond County, 819,000. For 2 units, new homes is 1,113,000. That's in the Bronx. Kings County, 1,049,000. New York, 1,049,000 as well. Queens County, 1,076,000. Richmond County, 1,049,000. For 3 units in the Bronx, it's 1,347,000. Kings County would be 1,270,000. Same for New York, 1,270,000. Queens County, 1,303,000. Richmond, 1,270,000. And if you decide to construct a 4-family unit, in the Bronx, it's going to be 1,669,000. Kings County, 1,573,000. New York County, 1,573,000. Queens County, 1,614,000. And Richmond County, 1,573,000. There you have it.
Also to know, all these charts are available on the HUD website. You can always refer to them at your convenience. All this information is on the HUD website. Just to pick up where Francine left off, there are exception areas to these purchase price limits, depending on specific zip codes. So you can surpass the purchase price limits should these properties fall within certain zip codes in Manhattan and Brooklyn. So that's something that you have to refer back with your counselor to see if it's within the exception area, to see if it exceeds the purchase price limits, you can still qualify for this program. And lastly, you do have to work with a participating lender in order to work with the Home First Grant. So this is the most updated list of banks that work with Home First. It's very important that if you have a pre-approval, you already started the process and are pre-approved with someone outside this this list, then you will meet with your counselor first to determine eligibility, to then know where to direct you to in terms of lenders. If anyone is interested in learning more about our grants and more information on this specific grant and other grants available and other programs, you can always register on our website. We always have workshops in terms of financial, insurance, grant workshops, and also our classes, which all bring good information on the whole entire process, valuable information for anyone that is interested. Now we're going to take some questions regarding the program itself. There's a lot of details that go into this process, but like I said and mentioned, everybody's process is going to be different because everybody's situation is different in terms of household size and the documentation we will need from you and the type of property you're purchasing. And it,
Great. Thank you very much, Francine and Keith, for presentation. I'm first going to see if any of my board members have any questions, and then we'll go to the public. I'll defer to you. Yes.
Okay.
okay.
Hello. Just one question. I'm not sure, what is a unit?
We always have that question. The one
Yeah.
unit, okay, you want to take it, Keisha?
Oh, no, sorry, I was unmuting it, but you can go ahead and answer.
Okay. 1 unit is like a 1 family. co-op is a unit. If you're buying a co-op as unit, one person is going to be residing there. If you buy a condo, that is one unit. You buy purchasing a one-family home, that is considered a one unit. Co-op, condos, and one-family homes are considered one unit. I hope that answered the question.
In essence, that means that a 4-unit is a 4-family home.
Exactly. And a
correct.
2-unit is 2-family home. You live in one, and maybe you want to rent out the other one, or another family live in the other one, another family member occupy the other unit. So that's a 2-unit, and so forth for 3 and the 4.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
Trevor, I think you're next. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. The asset limit, does that include retirement accounts?
No. The asset limit is only the liquid assets. Doesn't include your retirement account.
I noticed on the chart that Manhattan is in the lowest category. I was curious as to, I know you
Why?
exceeded in certain zip codes, but it's still the lowest of the maximum purchase price. Is there a reason for that?
Well, that came from HPD. We would need to ask HPD. Why is that? You have any idea, Keisha?
No, so everything on this presentation in terms of Home First, all this information, income limits, they're all established by HPD. They do their yearly evaluations, and based on that, they're able to determine the AMI and so on. But we have no say or control over these purchase price limits or income limits.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. On your website, do you have a chart which shows where the majority of homes are purchased? Like, are they mostly purchased in Queens and Brooklyn versus Manhattan, or is that data not available?
No, we don't have any data that shows specifically where,
most-
the most properties are being purchased. I would say everyone is different, depending on where they would like to purchase. For the most part, people are just looking for anything closer to their jobs. They don't base it so much on the borrow, just anything that's more convenient for them. But there's not specific, I would say one borrow better than the other.
Well, some of them have a preference. So I want to purchase in Queens, but then maybe when they have the pre-approval, and it depends on the amount of the pre-approval, it might not lead them to Queens. It might lead them to the Bronx. And then they make a decision if they want to move to the Bronx or not. But people have a mindset of where they want to purchase. And I've seen a lot of them purchasing in Queens and Staten Island, because Staten Island is, the price on Staten Island and the Bronx is a little less than Brooklyn and Queens.
All right, thank you.
Campbell, you had a question?
I guess I'm curious about the 2, 3, 4 unit buildings. To the extent that the loan is forgivable and you're allowed to rent out those other properties, what's the policy rationale there? It seems like we're just subsidizing people to become landlords.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
That's a good thing. No?
I mean, I think it's debatable. I mean, it sounds like we're just giving forgivable loans to people to become landlords. I mean, I could think of better use of public funds than essentially giving people free money to have a thereafter rentable and liquid asset. But, if the policy rationale is to support additional small landlords, then I'd be curious to hear that said explicitly.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from and the idea behind that. But in reality, we're trying to open the doors for both the person buying the property and also those that may need rental assistance, because now they have more opportunities for more properties to be rented, and also it builds equity for the person buying the property too. But definitely, I completely understand your point of view.
Are there like requirements and specific regulations that are attached? Like, are these landlords required to accept Section 8 vouchers? Are they required to accept housing assistant vouchers? Is there any public additional benefit beyond the private benefit that the recipient of this forgivable loan receives, or is this just free money?
Well, it's not, it's,
Yes.
sorry. So there's no, as to our knowledge, we don't have any restrictions as to what you can do with the property per HPD guidelines. As long as you're not hosting a business in the property. I think that's the, at most what you can do, is rent out the units. But in terms of, yeah, it's like having to accept Section 8 or any other government programs, that has to be dealt directly with HPD. We don't have any knowledge of that.
Okay, thank you. Could you point me towards the funding allocation that your organization disperses funding from? Is this a yearly allocation in the HPD budget with a specific line item name?
Francine?
Yes, yes, HPD has a budget for the program each year. On July, the programs go on hold and then the fundings come back. In maybe June or July, the fundings come back. Yeah, they have
Okay,
fundings
and
for us so far.
is this program exclusively administered by your organization, or are there other community nonprofits that disperse funds from that same line item?
There is another, HPD brought on another organization. What is the name of that organization?
I'm trying to find out
I
too.
know. Yeah, there's another organization. I'm so familiar with that organization, and I can't remember their name now.
For this new program, essentially, we are having two organizations process applications, where, there's going to be two different funders. So there's the city home funds, depend if the applications request more than 50,000, I believe, and then the rest will be
Yeah.
funded, by city funds. Oh, sorry,
Yeah, there's city funds and then there's federal funds.
federal funds, sorry, yes. I'm trying
If
to find
it's
the organization.
Testing.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
and oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, the thing is about this program, we're due to get training on it because there's so much details into that's new with this program. So,
Right.
we don't have all the information, so we don't want to give you the wrong information. But once we have training for it, and we're going to be able to provide accurate information in terms of this grant. But
Additional
these are additional information. But this is just the basics, the eligibility requirements, how to participate in the program. But there's going to be a lot more that comes with this. HPD just needs to provide the training for all the organizations so we can make sure that everyone is being their application is being processed correctly.
Because this new program just came on board on August
April 30th.
April 30th. April 30th.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the board? Molly, do you have a question or?
It's not actually a question, just give some answer to Campbell's question before is, as I learned about this program from HPD, they cannot really rent them out and make income. Usually in their regulatory agreement, they put a maximum rent out for 18 months in 5 years. And in the 18 months, they usually have a restriction for the rent. Usually it's like 3 times the maintenance fee that's typically lower than their mortgage payment. So for most people, if they choose to take this loan and rent it out, they will not actually make money, they lose money instead. So that's one thing we can stop this program to make people become landlord. And also, I just want added information in case it's applicable to any listeners. This program only eligible for U.S. citizen and permanent residents. So
Yes.
if you're under other active visa, stay in the country, you cannot apply to that.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
that
that
is
was not a
question.
question. Okay. All right, very good.
That is not a question.
Do
That's
we have any
additional
members of the
information. Thank
public
you for that.
who-
I know with the 3 and 4 family, they're not allowing you to like become rich on the program, right?
Yeah.
Understood. Do we have any members of the public who would like to ask a question? You would have 2 minutes to speak. Raise your hand if you have a question. Would like to ask a question if you're a member of the public. All right, we don't have any hands raised.
Do you have
Well,
any
thank
members
you,
of the public?
Francine, Francine and
Keisha,
Keisha, we
Keisha.
appreciate.
Yes?
Oh, you have a question? No? Right. No more, I have no more questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate your coming and being able to answer our questions and give information to the public.
Awesome, great.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, so just we're gonna go on to our next agenda item, but basically, just to quickly, we want to make sure we don't. We're actually very happy to be here, but don't want to overstay our welcome also. So, but basically, the way the process is gonna go is we're just gonna go through the list of things that we may want to add, but we don't want to discuss policy tonight. We'll discuss that at the next meeting. We'll do it step by step. That way we don't get bogged down and, so it'll just be going through, Susan will be leading us here. She'll be going through the list of it. If we have any potential
NeighborWorks,
additions, we'll
not
take notes.
NeighborWorks.
But that's it, and we'll discuss policy next meeting. All right?
Thank you. So what I just passed out to everybody was the land use housing section of the district needs statement. The district needs statement is on our website under about and then district profile. We will be working on this in June, hopefully finalized in July. Then this will inform our budget priorities, and then we'll vote on everything in October. Some of the statistics when we update, we won't get those till July, so those can be plugged in kind of at the last minute. And I want to remind everyone, it's not a policy paper. It is a picture of our community and basically our unmet needs. So if tonight, as a first step, if we could go through, just look at the different sections. I don't know if people have looked them over. We announced this at the last full board, so I don't know if anyone's prepared. But just like what needs to be seriously updated. The office will update just statistics. But if you think writing needs to be updated, let's mark what needs to be updated. Does anything need to be deleted? Does anything need to be totally rewritten? Is there something missing from here? So if we can kind of go through the sections and make those notes, I think that will be very helpful for the next step.
All right, so let's go through the sections as we have. The first one is housing in Community District 3 is increasing unaffordable for many residents, and the district has become increasingly socially stratified. The statistics are that Community District 3 currently has the highest income diversity rate of any community district in New York City, with 11.9% of the district having income of less than $10,000 and 13.8% of residents with an income over $200,000. I don't, yeah, I probably don't, right? Just the stats are going to get updated. Yeah.
All these statistics are things we got either from the census or the Furman Center.
Furman Center.
So the office will absolutely update.
Right, yeah,
We'll
I agree.
absolutely
Yeah.
update all these. So I think we could just maybe look at the sections and see that
Okay.
they're still relevant.
So I feel like the first section is pretty relevant. Could be interesting.
I think what we're is trying to get we are working with Pratt on the project we said we were going to do as far as to look at what types of affordability. And I think we did ask them for both district-wide, and also we're going to try and get the vacancy rates on affordable.
Okay, that would be nice. Any other suggestions or additions there?
We specifically mention, or do we? No, I think it would be helpful, and perhaps the Pratt work is already going to focus on this a bit, but we have a big senior population and a big young people population. Those two populations have distinctly different needs. Both of them are generally not being met to the extent that we need to. Could be another interesting data point, because I think a lot of our district's needs circle around that work.
So that's very true, and I'm not sure if I brought this up at the last full board, but we are working with a demographer, and one of the things separately, totally separate, but it's a good time to be getting that information. And we did ask for not only the percentage of seniors, but the increase in seniors and the number of seniors living below poverty level. But that always goes in the human services section, but it'll certainly impact when Pratt looks at what kind of housing. We also wanted to know, like, do we have, we sometimes pit affordable housing with like seniors against families. So we're trying to get all that information. Yeah,
Distinct from the demographer workstream?
they are totally different, except that I am sending the work the demographer does to Pratt so they don't have to duplicate it.
All right, sounds good. Any other suggestions for there? No? All right, great. So the next point is, additionally, CD3 is experiencing a crisis of street homelessness. It is clear that new affordable and supportive housing is needed, but it must be targeted at affordability levels appropriate for current neighborhood income. The points below show a need for an increase in affordable housing development in general, and specifically targeted at low incomes. Yeah, I would not be surprised if it's more needed, actually more desperate, right? It's only accelerating in a sense. Huh? Okay, I'm not going to. Okay, if there are no additions to that, we'll move on to the next one. Wait, where's the next one? Does it get cut off?
No, it is not. We have updated, and well, certainly we've updated all the statistics every year. And we have gone through this whole thing and made changes, sometimes very minor changes, sometimes we've changed sections, but we go through it every year.
Okay, so the next one is quite lengthy, but I doubt it's controversial. Certainly think we need to build and preserve affordable housing. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of empty land, and a lot of that's kind of already been divvied up, but obviously preservation is just as important as building. Is there any more need to add to this section? I think we're all probably pretty for this. Yes, Molly.
We might want to ask Val or Zoe if there's any update, he could give us that information.
At one thing there's one sentence at the second page is about like how many new housing units we have gained in the past 10 years. I think there's also valuable data to add here is because many income restricted units have a time period. Some of them might expire in 5 or 10 years. So we can have a look ahead in the next 5 or 10 years, how many income restricted units their restriction will expire and become market rate. So we will know how many units we will lose. And for the section about build affordable housing, as Michael mentioned, we don't have many vacant land, but maybe we can ask them to do a research about how many land have unused air right. Some of them recently have been rezoned or have some maybe it was built in a commercial district, but after a couple of years, it turned to like residential zone overlap. So there's a potential to add additional housing unit on the top of existing building. That can be a data to gather and provide to the developer who are interested in.
Talking about soft sites in a sense, because I mean there is a city website that tracks soft development sites as well. I don't. I know, yeah, we're basic. I think in general we tend. I think in this neighborhood we tend to be maxed out and don't have soft development sites. But I'm certain from doing my urban policy work at Hunter right now that there is a website that does track soft sites. So I'm sure Hunter could get that pretty easily from the website. Yeah, if you could send an email for an indication of what you're thinking, where to look, that would be good. Generally, Pratt is pretty good. All right. So I noted here, Susan, we will ask Val for an update for the CLT needs. That is a good idea.
I have one question on this section. We specifically talk, looking at the bottom of page 2. Additionally, unnecessary administrative and bureaucratic roadblocks in the approval process are some of the largest financial costs in building new affordable homes, which often renders desirable projects unfeasible. I understand this isn't a policy paper, but I think HPD and any other city agency reading this would be very interested to hear what sorts of reform we might be open to. This could go any which direction, and I'd be curious if the board had any thoughts on, where we might encourage our agency partners to look into this more.
So I think we could probably find, it is a good point if you can say something, give specifics. And I think it has been done and we can find it. I would suggest if you want to do that, I would do it outside of this because this is, basically focusing on the unmet needs, but that doesn't mean you can't take any area and do resolutions and focus on it.
Consider maybe for the, we're handling this in June, sending it off in July, August is next, so maybe September?
Sounds good. All right, so the next point is to preserve the viability of HDFC buildings. I certainly don't think that's controversial. There's not much there, right? Any comments on HDFCs? All right. Expands the support of residential resiliency upgrades. Obviously, since we actually had some serious flooding issue recently, that seems like a reasonable point still, and it's not going away. Might actually be increasing. Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of murky, sadly. Federal funding. Okay, I'll make a note. All right. NYCHA and Section 8 housing. And I think, are we specifically just concerned about capital improvement repairs, or no, there's a bunch of them. Capital improvement repairs, bridge the NYCHA digital divide, and community participation in next gen. I'm guessing we also would want to ask about funding cuts here, right? In all likelihood.
We will do that in our budget consultations. I would maybe leave this section to Damaris to comment on.
Yeah, I agree. I think Damaris is the most informed of all of us on this section. So I don't mind leaving it to Damaris if people don't mind me.
As far as the digital divide, we're actually, so a lot of the plans have, since it affects so much like telehealth and so many things, it has been suggested that at the end of our introduction, that we have a larger section about digital divide because it affects actually all the areas.
Okay, possibly add digital divide. All right. Anyone else have any other comments on NYCHA? But I guess, again, I do think Damaris could actually maybe inform us a little bit more at the next meeting. She is definitely the most up to date. All right, so I think that's the end of our list there. Is there anything else people would want to add to that that's not been here or possibly look into? Any other suggestions? Great, yeah, we are starting early, which is actually good to make sure we can get this down and in case there's time for research. I also wanted to see if there were any members of the public who heard some of the commentary and would like to make any type of suggestions for needs. If so, raise your hand, please. All right, we have no hands raised. Do we have any more comments from the board? Nope, okay. So I will take roll call at this point, and that will end the meeting. Damaris, absent. John, present. Huh? Ariadna, Alistair, Herman, Trevor, Michelle, Molly, Campbell, Jaylene, Sandra, Steve, Megan, Anisha. All right, and that